everybody. We are officially live, I believe, for this stream here, August 11th, 2026. It kind of came up really sudden, but we're going to pull it off. We're going to see what we can do. We're going to get this stream going. So it's been a little while here. Bernie Sanders, hello. Hello, J.R. Haven. A lot of stuff going on here, so didn't think this was going to happen literally till just a bit ago. And I thought about not even doing it because it's a little late, but we're going to do it. I'm not sure if everything's even working properly. Had a little bit of a hard time getting it off the ground. Started a minute or two late. There's action here today. There are some primaries, probably a few notable ones here, including Wisconsin governor. But welcome aboard to the few people that are going to manage to show up for this. Just like we used to do the streams, missed the last couple because, again, a lot going on. So I'm a little bit behind on a few races myself, but we do have key races here. South Carolina. That's kind of a big one in a sense. Um, Lindsey Graham died in office. That was a big thing. I didn't even get to cover it here. But let me know if anything's not working properly. We'll try to fix it if I can. But this is a big thing here. The filling the remainder of Lindsey Graham, who actually won his primary a little while ago. So he died. It's far enough back. They did another special. And we've got a runoff here, Darlene Graham and Ralph Norman. Those are the two moving on. Not even sure. Okay, the runoff will be August 25th. That's not too far off. So we've got another Graham, quite possibly getting back in to that seat. Sister of Lindsey Graham and Ralph Norman, congressman. So we'll come back to that. But we've got Wisconsin governor. We've got Minnesota Senate. A couple of big primaries here. These are probably the two biggest. I'm not sure. We've also got Alabama. There's also Connecticut. Ned Lamont, 2/3 of the vote there. And we've got Vermont, who's going to move on and lose to Phil Scott. Looks like it's a tight one here. And got decision desk up. A lot of races here. I'm not even sure what to really cover, but the main ones here are going to be Minnesota and Wisconsin. Very interesting dynamics. They're a little bit different, but they're also a little bit the same. It's going to be the farther left versus the not so farther left. Can David Crowley have a late surge against Francesca Hong? Probably not. We did see a close one, though, with Abdul El Sayed edging it out over Haley Stevens. So maybe there is a surge here because Hong probably not as electable in the general. Minnesota, here we go. Angie Craig, the more moderate, the more establishment, taking on Lieutenant Governor Penny Flanagan. We've been talking about this race pretty much for the past year. Craig seemed like she was trailing. Now, maybe she's going to make it interesting. Anyway, Brian Chavez. Yeah, nice to see you here. Tuesday, it's going. Let's just say that. A lot of craziness, a lot of stuff going on. Still a few videos up here and there, but uh, not as many. We're not doing the daily videos anymore. Couldn't do it. Um, but good to hear. Okay, Jim Larson is going to go down to obvious path. Hello. Let's see. Okay, here's Wisconsin. Handful of votes here, and not enough information. We'll have to come back. I think we want to see what the markets are going to show. So that's going to be here. We'll take a look and see. Okay, Hong, everything is still the same. We'll also see what's going on for Minnesota Senate. Oh, let's get to the other side. Here we go. Republicans do have a primary of their own, but Flanagan now is slightly dipped to about high 60s. Um, be keeping an eye on that one for sure. So Connecticut District 1. Okay. John Larson. Not to be confused with Jim Larson. John Larson is the incumbent who is he's done. So that is an incumbent that's defeated in a primary. Not even close, really. 55-31. Thanks for pointing that out. Aaron from Wisconsin, hello. Nice to have you in here. I don't know how you found the channel, but that works. So yeah, big state, Wisconsin. What's going on? Anything on the ground there? Is it going to be Hong for sure? And then what happens in November? Is Tom Tiffany going to somehow pull out a win in this blue laning environment? That's what the markets have shown. Um, let's see. There's a market here for this Vermont race. Okay. Amanda Janu looks like she's going to be the winner. Look at that. It almost flipped. It did flip. Well, kind of flipped just a little while ago. Alabama's second. And okay, yeah, Wisconsin's third. That's going to be a district to watch. That's going to be the Derek Van Orden district, potentially vulnerable incumbent Republican in this environment. The seventh, that is the Tom Tiffany district. So this is going to be open, pretty red leaning. So it's really down to the primary battle. So we'll see what we got here. David Crowley is in the lead. We've got a little bit here. Waukesha County now, less than 1%. Now, is that going to affect the market at all? Uh, Not yet. Oh, we've got a little bit more too. So Hong was really dominating in the polls, pretty much double digits in a bunch. But like Abdul Al Sayed in Michigan, there was some polling this for the more moderate candidate. Um, Hong and Crowley are no-nos for you because Hong's white men. Be better step aside, but Crowley claiming anti-establishment sentiment is a slur. I did hear that. That's, yeah, I mean, identity stuff. Yeah, that is the stuff that is going to be off-putting for more people than not. Certain segment eats that stuff up, but a lot of people, they don't get that. They don't, why are we talking about this? And why would you have that take? So I did hear that. Um, it's going to be a good race. I mean, if this were a neutral year, Republicans would have a good shot at flipping the state. Now they're going to hope that it's Hong. I know that they wanted her, and I think she is a weaker candidate. You know, we've seen this with Republican candidates where you get people a little bit further to the left, further to the right, the anti-establishment Trump-style Republicans, and they went on to lose in the general a few times. So not all the time, though. I mean, you got Carrie Lake, you've got Mark Robinson, North Carolina. Those two come to mind. Okay, 1%. Now, Dane County is going to be a big dump for Hong. That's where she represents, and it's going to be one of the two pretty blue counties. Um, but she somehow had this grassroots type of campaign. I mean, a year ago, I don't think many people at all heard of her. Probably even 6 months ago, outside of people who follow politics. But we'll see. So far, she's trailing. So maybe some late breaking Democrats could say, hey, she's a little bit too much for the general. So they're going to go David Crowley. We'll see. Nothing else here in Minnesota. Um, so, yeah, these are the two big ones Minnesota, Wisconsin. Um, Hong said she wants to cancel Thanksgiving. Yeah, I did hear about that. Um, um, and yeah, I mean, it's hard to not hear about that one. And yeah, a lot of these bad takes come back to haunt people. Yeah, undecideds. It could be going Crowley for the general, possibly. But Crowley, he dropped out. Then he came back. I mean, this whole race, I did a video on this a couple of months ago. It's been kind of a wild ride. Sarah Rodriguez, the lieutenant governor, was supposed to be kind of the moderate who locks this thing up. Didn't really happen. She had to pull out, which was a big shakeup. And then Crowley drops out. Mandela Barnes, he didn't get anything really going. And there's a bunch of different candidates here. And for one reason or another, everything just led up to Francesca Hong. Let's see if the markets have shown anything yet. Okay, we do have a bit of a dip now. Take a look at that. From 96% down to 86 now. 86 is still overwhelming, but 10% switch with very little vote in. That could be telling. If if the margins aren't there for Hong in Dane and Milwaukee, that could be an issue for Hong. Republicans really want to go up against Hong. There's no question. Now, doesn't mean they're going to for sure win. It doesn't mean they can't beat David Crowley. Tom Tiffany, there's no primary really. He's going to be the winner, unopposed. Oh, actually, he's not unopposed. Yeah, token opposition. Um, I'm not going to say Tiffany is going to be the favorite. I mean, against Hong, I know it's going to be close. I need to wait and see. Wait till we get through Labor Day, see what happens as people actually start paying attention to this thing. Um, all right. Crowley gaining a little bit more. Let's get some. Okay, 88% in here in Jefferson County. Now, this is not going to be your super Hong friendly, I would guess. However, she's only down by four. But if every other county has Crowley in the lead, it's going to have to be big margins in Dane and Milwaukee. But now Crowley is from Milwaukee County. So there's a lot of different dynamics here. Rodriguez or Barnes should have stayed in. Both Crowley and Hong aren't great. I was a little concerned with Barnes due to 22 losing to Senator Johnson, but polls showed he was strong. Yeah, Barnes had some controversial statements. A lot of Democrats, especially the more activist types in that 2020, 21, 22 era, they said a lot of stuff and they had to walk some of it back. Um, okay, Peggy Flanagan now has just jumped into the lead, and that's significant. Ramsey County, just the 1% in. Let's see, it's Hong still at 86%. Okay, let's see, Flanagan at 70, and on the refresh, he goes down to 69. Okay. Oh, yeah, we've got to look also. We can't forget about Minnesota governor. Oh, and yeah, let's not forget about the Republicans here. Michelle Tafoya, expected to be the winner here, and it looks like she's got that one pretty comfortable with less than 1%. But the general election is probably going to be the uphill climb. I mean, this is Minnesota. It's probably going to be Democrats at a likely margin. But we've got Amy Klobuchar here. No contest, really. And here we go. Is Mike Lindell going to be the guy to lose to Amy Klobuchar? Think I think that's what people are kind of expecting. Let's see if the market has shown anything different here. Oh, I guess Mike Lindell actually dropped off here the past week, and I missed what happened. Okay, then it's not going to be Lindell. It's going to be Lisa Damuth. So maybe I missed some news the last day or two with Lindell, who looked like he was had all the momentum. And what happened to Kendall Qualls? He ended up fizzling out after got the he won the straw poll or the nomination at the convention, something like that. And apparently that led nowhere for him. All right, here we go. Okay, Crowley just took a bit of a hit there. Not sure where that vote was from. Okay, Flanagan now is 55%. Uh, Crowley has a hand in the black vote, which could give him a lift in Milwaukee. Yeah, I would agree. That could, sure. Uh, it's going to be good stuff. 6% in now. Dane County is going to be probably the big question mark because it looks like Crowley is going to be winning most of the other counties, the suburban, the rural counties, except in the driftless area. This is still unclear. Actually, Hong is in the lead. We'll see what we get in some of these other counties here. Um, so a couple of big states here. These are neighboring states, as well as, I mean, we've got other states here: Connecticut, Vermont, a lot of different states here. South Carolina, Alabama. Yeah, what happened to Michael Lindell? I mean, he didn't have a lot of momentum a while ago. Then I thought he gained some, and I guess he just lost it here at the end. But yeah, it's good to be back here doing another stream. I know it's late. I know it's sudden. I know there wasn't any notice. That's just how it goes sometimes, maybe even more often than not, because it's unclear when these are going to happen. Again, there's been so much going on. The content has been less. I've still been putting polls out, but as I said about a month ago, a little over a month ago, maybe, that yeah, the channel was struggling pretty much for the past year, year and a half. So we're gonna see what happens. I've got to take care of some real life things, and we'll just see what happens with the channel. I mean, I can't keep it going every day with very little reception. But I did want to get on here and do this stream. I know we're in primary season and we're starting to wind it down now. Okay, Craig here with a gain, about a 5% gain now as we get a little bit more here. Okay, Flanagan getting some back. Okay, a little bit more here in Wisconsin. So yeah, how's everybody been doing? Everybody been doing pretty good. Taking a look at all these races the last month. In Michigan recently, different things have been happening. I know Lindsey Graham dying in office. That was a big story. I just was unable to cover it at the time, and I've been really unable to cover some of these stories and do more content. But we're doing this now, and I know there's some fans out there that really enjoy the channel, so that's going to be good stuff. 7% in now. We got small gain for Hong. I'm not sure where that was. Uh, yeah, but Barnes losing to Johnson in 22, that was a big deal. I thought, yeah, Barnes was probably a little bit. He made too many controversial statements. I think, yeah, back in 20 and 21, and Johnson, who was unpopular, he just was able to figure it out. And that was the year of, yeah, the Supreme Court abortion decision, which really, I think, blunted Republicans' success. Um, so if it wasn't for that, he probably would have won by 3 or 4, I would say. Shadow Legend, hello. Good to see you. Welcome aboard. Poly market bettors are panicking over Hong. They're switching to Crowley fast. Let's take a look at it. She's down to, yeah, look at that. It's almost completely flipped. Oh, we do have Madison in here now. Oh, God, yeah. If Hong isn't even leading in Dane County, that's it. Oh, maybe this. Oh, yeah. This color blends in so well. So what happened here is did Hong just completely have inflated poll numbers, or did so many Democrats just at the last minute decided they can't go with Hong, who is probably going to lose in the general? Less than 1% here in Michigan or Minnesota, excuse me. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. Crowley is in the lead now. That's it. I mean, but the general election polling is going a little bit back toward the Dems now. If this pans out, the establishment must be completely relieved. Ona Hong is actually in the lead now in Dane. Well, that's the least she could do is be in the lead in her own county. Uh, you didn't see Barnes that way in 22. Didn't talk much, honestly, about stuff. Yeah, I know. Well, abortion was that big topic back then. Yeah, but I think there was a little bit too much, probably too many comments from the peak of the George Floyd stuff, and Barnes was kind of on the forefront of that. I think at the time, uh, or he commented on it, I guess, and there was statements around that. I think some of that was off-putting for probably the more moderate voter. Maybe it fired up the Trump base, but yeah, that was a close race, and yeah, I don't know. Barnes, he no longer is. Back then, he was like the left-leaning candidate. Now he's not. He's not anymore because Hong is in there. So okay, Hong only 1% lead in Dane County, and yeah, this is not looking great for Hong. So polling, you can only say so much about polling in the primary and the general. It just, I say it all the time. You look at the polling, but it's just a snapshot. Maybe a week later, it's different. So whatever polls showed Hong in the lead or Abdul El Sayed in the lead by 10 or 15 or more, it just, hey, maybe that's not what happens. I mean, usually when somebody's in the lead by double digits, yeah, they're going to hold it. And El Sayed actually held on, but late breakers, that is certainly a thing. All right, we've got 4% now in Minnesota. Let's see if we can get Crowley now is at 65. So look at that. If you had Hong, 96%. If you bet on Crowley, that would have been a nice payout if it pans out. What's going on in this Minnesota Senate race? Now Flanagan, 95. So kind of a mixed bag then. If Hong loses and Flanagan wins, that would be one for both sides. I think Milwaukee County is probably going to go fairly decent for Hong, or excuse me, Crowley, if the surrounding counties are. But there's still there's still so much vote outstanding. With Syed, the establishment starting to move over to Syed. Yeah, I guess they are. I have seen that. trying to deal with the voters wanted. But with Hong, I don't know. Sayed is far less controversial at the moment than Hong. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, yeah, governor and senate again. Those are very different offices. I think you're more likely to get some crossover for governor against Hong than. So Hong, yeah, she's got to get this margin up more. Now, Kelda Roy's, I guess maybe she's taken away some vote from Hong. I don't know. Or maybe I thought they were both from the same area. I'm not sure, but Hong has to get this up to like 5, 10 points if she's going to lose the rest of the state here by a little bit. 20% of the vote in now. Okay, so we're looking at Flanagan and Tafoya. I would, I mean, if Flanagan lost, that would be pretty notable. Royce White, he was the nominee a couple of years ago. I'm pretty sure, unless that's a different Royce White. All right, Darlene Graham has advanced. 20% in here on New York Times. What does Decision Desk have? 25%, 42%, 42.2 here, and 40.8. So a little bit of a discrepancy on the different sources. I'm always confused as to how some counties they get going right away, and then there's other counties, also rural counties, that they don't get anything going for an hour can go by, and I don't know why that takes so long, but okay, yeah, there's your slate of Democrats right there. This was a pretty messy primary, I'd say. I don't know how hard Crowley went after Hong. Actually, I know they don't want it. People don't want to go too hard after each other, but at some point, the gloves come off a little bit. Okay, now it basically evened again. Hong at 51. She's back in the lead. Wow, this is interesting. Here's Milwaukee County now. Oh, we only have a that must be it. Only a 1 point lead, 1.5 for Crowley in Milwaukee County. Now that is not what I was expecting. I was expecting Crowley to be up there, maybe by double digits or close to it. But now he's only up by 1 or 2. That makes it more interesting. You saw a guy on Insta thinking Joel Brennan was the strongest Dem in the governor's race. I forgot about Joel Brennan. I would need a refresher on his backstory before I can really comment on that. It's been too much going on in my life and too many Democrats in this race for me to really follow. But but yeah, what's going on in Milwaukee County with Crowley? He's doing better in the less populated counties. Hong in the lead here in Kenosha County. That's interesting. Maybe if you bet on Hong, maybe it's not so bad after all. Maybe the markets got spooked. Let's get an update here. Crowley now back in the lead at 58, 59. I think people don't know what to do yet because we're getting different results from different parts of the state. Big gain there for Angie Craig, by the way. Okay, we've got Hong again, slight gain there. She is in the lead. This is going to be a weird looking map if everything kind of continues here, because this is not making a lot of consistent sense just yet. Okay, Crowley up there by Green Bay. He is up by 5, but right next door, Hong is up by a point or two. That's why it's good if you actually aren't betting on these races, because do you really want to deal with the stress of watching a couple random counties come in and then you have to decide within seconds if you need to pull out or not? But this is certainly exciting. They have not disappointed. And we've got, let's see, 10 people in here. Well, not a ton, but hey, there was literally zero notice on this thing. Um, 36%, we're getting there. 44% in here in Dane. Now, Hong, 3% lead. She's got to get that up, I think, probably a little bit more. But at the same time, Crowley is underperforming in Milwaukee County based on the surrounding counties. Let's go back to. Oh, we got a tie here. Always fun to see the stripes. Okay, yeah. New York Times, though, they don't do the stripes, they just leave it gray. Let's see what we've got here. Now it is basically, look at this, dead even. 47-47. The markets have no idea what to do. I mean, there's nothing you can do. This is a great reason again why you should not spend money on the betting markets. It's tons of stress, and you might make the wrong move, and then you're out. Could be a lot of money. More fun to just do a live stream. It's probably easier to bet on a general election than a primary. And a primary, it's anyone's game in the general. You at least know, like if you bet in Wyoming, West Virginia, etc. I mean, yeah, there's always potential upsets in either the general or the primary. But yeah, another tied count here. 18 votes each. Look at that. Um, let's see. Juneau County. And they have nothing even in here on decision desk. So decision desk, sometimes they're ahead and other times they're behind. I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay, a little bit up top here. And what is this? Um, you've got neither Crowley Norhong in the top three, where there's only a handful of votes here. But what is that about? Kelder in the lead with 51. What's this? This something's got to be going on here. That's just way too crazy. Um, Also surprised Ned Lamont only 2/3 of the vote. I guess. Okay, 43% in. A big gap here between Kenosha County and Racine County, if there's that big of a gap between Crowley and Hong. 44%, a little bit more, still plenty to go. And check the markets again. We're going to be doing that a lot. Hong is in the lead again. So this is really it's a nail biter. Only 40% in here though on decision desk. They're certainly missing a few counties here. Gives you gives Chris Christie vibes from 24 with Oklahoma. You know, is that where he was in the lead? I know there was a couple of tabulation errors in a couple states. Was that one of them? I mean, that's hard to remember. Something Chris Christie, Oklahoma, but maybe I was streaming. I could have been. Okay, Crowley with a 3-point lead now, Milwaukee County. So not a ton. I think the driftless area could be the decider here. If Hong is going to win these counties by 2 or 3 points, maybe that's not enough. Maybe it is. South Carolina, well, yeah, this is interesting race. We've got Darlene Graham and Ralph Norman advancing to the runoff August 23rd. So a unusual looking map here as well. Um, okay, a slight advantage. Oh no, that was actually Hong and Crowley both losing. Okay, here now up here, Hong is in the lead. So, but here Crowley is in the lead on decision desk. You're you're surprised. The progressive won in the first district in Connecticut. Yeah, that is a. I haven't followed the race, but yeah, that was a pretty big win there. Wasn't even that close. Chris Christie, they had him winning Oklahoma in 24. You know, he withdrew. Okay, there was a tabulation error. Yeah, crazy. It's funny though. Did I see Telrico's odds increase in the polls and the markets? I think I did a little bit. I checked, I think 2 days ago, and it was Paxton was ahead by a hair, slight like tilt advantage. But yeah, a couple of favorable Tallarico polls coming out, and that's doing it. Now that's going to be a great race. I mean, Tallarico's not running away with it, but the fact that he's polled, I think, in the high 40s in some of these, that's making Team Paxton a little bit nervous. Wisconsin is close, absolutely. You'll need to see Talrico consistently leading by 5 for him to win. Okay. So if he's leading by 4 in every poll, that's not going to do it. Vote Hub projects Texas as a tilt to Talrico, but since they do use Kelshi, you still see it as lean Republican. Okay. It's just too early. I mean, so much is going to change. I mean, how many times is every race locked in August? I mean, some of these are going to be easy calls for November, but a good handful, or probably 2 or 3 handfuls, they could shift 5 or 10 points over the next 2 to 3 months. You like how South Carolina did their special election over how Maine did? Yeah, yeah, I think that's. I would agree with that. There was so much time left that having another primary made sense. Instead, in Maine, they just put in Troy Jackson, which you know that it is what it is. All right, we've got another minus 0.1% for Hong. Now, here's another example where you might want a runoff or ranked choice voting because nobody's going to hit 50%. And where would all these other voters go? Probably toward Crowley. A lot of them. Well, a good chunk. Who knows? Okay, Hong now, she's up to 4% in Dane County with 58% in. So Hong is doing a little bit better in her county than Crowley is in his. But how is she's there's a lot of inconsistencies in this map. Maybe it'll all make sense in an hour, but right now not so much. Now Crowley, what happened? A Crowley surges again up to 70. Hmm. 51% in. If Crockett doesn't campaign for Talarico, I think he's going to lose some Democrat votes. Yeah, yeah, I never know how much the campaigning for someone else matters. I really don't. I mean, maybe it does matter more than I think, but yeah, I could see. I could see Crockett having a little bit of a boost, given the pretty big contrast between herself and Talarico. Gina Hinojosa has been gaining on Abbott in the governor's race. Signal gave Hinojosa losing only 3 points after her being down by 6. I did see that Signal poll where it was close. But I mean, Abbott's Abbott. I'm not going to think he's actually going to lose unless something really nuts happens. Max Miller's seat. Yeah, that was some news about him. I didn't hear it enough about it, but I heard a little bit. Yeah, Chuck Edwards. That's another thing. Um, just weird stuff going on. Even though I haven't been on top of everything because I've been busy. Why haven't they called it for Flanagan? Well, let's see. I guess they could. I think they're waiting for just a little bit more here, especially in Hennepin and Ramsey. Get a little bit more here in the Twin Cities, just to confirm what's going on and to see what. Yeah, is Craig actually going to win a lot of these rural counties? But we got less than a 2 point race here. It's Hong time. Is it really? I mean, is she going to pull this out? 64% here with this is like, why is Hong in the lead here? But I think that's what's freaking the markets out. Like, you look at some of these rural counties and you're thinking, okay, Crowley's got it all here. But then what's going on here? How is Hong leading some of these counties? So I wouldn't want to be betting on this race. Back in late July, when Talrico was getting close to surpassing Paxton in the markets, I was getting excited, and it felt unreal when I saw a tilt D rating on Wikipedia. Yeah, I mean, sure. I know Texas seeing anything, Texas going blue is going to be notable, but it's still pretty early. Like, relatively speaking, it's early. I mean, we're not even after Labor Day. After Labor Day, that's the kickoff. But then, even so, sometimes we've seen races where things change in the last week. Only 12% here in Minnesota. I wish they would get going a little bit quicker there. You know, as I say, every state, I guess, can't be Florida, where they can just count their votes. It's a thing of beauty. Okay, Hong there just gained a little bit. Where did she gain? Is the question. I think she gained. Hmm. It's really close. Um, Wisconsin is proving to be a nail biter like Michigan. Wonder how that will affect inter-party dynamics within the Democratic Party. Sure, yeah. Intra-party, I think, would be the way to go with that. But yeah, it's that's a good point. You know, the establishment says the progressive fringe is they're the problem, and the populist fringe progressive outsiders they think the establishment is the problem. It goes round and round, just like with the with the Republicans. You hope Talrico keeps it consistent post Labor Day, so his chances of winning are possible. I tend to think somebody like Talrico would. I mean, I think anything could happen. I'll be the first person to say that, but I think he's Paxton seems. I mean, again, Paxton's loaded with baggage, so this might not happen. But I would think Paxton would probably gain a couple of points late in the game, where some Talrico voters are not really sold on the guy, and once they actually get toward the election, they're going to go, yeah, you know, I don't like Paxton, but I don't want to. I don't want to go Talrico, so they'll sit it out, or they'll come back to Paxton right at the end. That's what I think for maybe a point or two or three. I mean, it's fun to say you're not going to vote for somebody 2, 3, 4 months out, but a lot of times when it comes down to it, like we might be seeing here in Wisconsin governor, Ong looked like she was completely dominating, and it might be cool to say, "Hey, I'm going to vote for her," but then when you actually realize at the last minute she might not be the strongest candidate, maybe she's a little bit too much, then you go Crowley at the last second. If you should bring up Nick Shirley, he went after Tim Walz and then Ilhan Omar for nothing in the end. Fought his bad, but the results shown it had no impact on the Dems whatsoever. Well, I mean, it did have an impact on Walz dropping out from running a third term. I think that's probably the biggest thing because he was going for a third term, and then this kind of engulfed everything. And I know there's other stuff going on, but I think it did have an effect on Walz, and I've seen other interviews and even some of the debates where the candidates have to address the fraud issue, and I know it goes on in other states and other governors have to deal with it. I guess Minnesota was kind of the flashpoint for it, and I think it probably will come up in the general. I haven't followed it closely over the past couple of months. I'm not sure what the status is with some of that fraud stuff, but that could come up in the general. I know Republicans want that to be an issue because that's going to be one that is going to benefit them. I've seen concerns about fraud. they've gone up. And I've seen, yeah, Tim Wall's approval rating went down. I think it was about the same as Trump's, something like that, on a poll a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. All right, Hong with she's only down by about one now. So what is going on here? Crowley is only in the lead by one in his home county. Um, let's take a look at the markets again. That's a good thing to do. Now Crowley is starting to run away with it here, which is a little surprising because there's so much outstanding and he's only up by one. And Minnesota here 15%. So good stuff here. Again, for those of you that are here, it's really nice to have everybody in here for another stream here at the last second. We missed a few of the primaries. I don't know when I'll be able to get on next, if at all. Maybe this is it. It's the channel's been undergoing some changes, and I didn't completely abandon it, but I've had to make some adjustments, cut down the daily content, and here we are. Uh, I'm glad there's still people around here. It's not like I've been gone forever and haven't even been totally gone. Still putting up stuff. I had a nice alternate history that I put out last week. That didn't get a ton of views. That's disappointing, but um, let's see. It impact Ilhan Omar. I think strengthened her numbers. Okay. Oh yeah, I guess that is a thing. Ilhan Omar and her district primary challenge. Uh, wasn't it? I think last 2 years ago, it was kind of close, right? I think that was the district. Um, I think Samuels, something like that. I think that was the guy. Is that happening again? I Some of these races run together with all the stuff I've been dealing with. So, but yeah, I don't know how much it affected Omar, but it did. I think it did affect Walls. Okay, let's see. Only 3% in. This is just not enough information with 60% in. For Michigan, El Sad is back to trailing Rogers in the polls after leading Rogers, but El Sad is leading Rogers in the markets. Ooh, yeah, it's going to be a good finish in some of these places. We're going to have more excitement in Michigan than North Carolina and Georgia and a couple other places. You enjoyed the alternate history video. Well, I'm glad you checked it out. You know, those videos, they do take a lot of effort. Well, all the videos take effort for sure, but I want to actually think about it. And usually, like in that video, it wasn't anything dramatic. Some people want an alternate history and they want a completely different map. But I mean, it's so hard to come up with a realistic map that looks totally different. So I just didn't think it would be that different. Um, it's similar, yeah. Texas, Michigan. We hope El Sad makes a comeback in the polls and increases more in the markets. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think everybody who's serious about covering politics should say it's going to be a great race in Michigan, and it could go either way. It's close enough to where you've got to say this is reasonably a toss up. You could just try to be, all about the bold call and say, no, 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 I got this Mike Rogers. He's got it in the bag. Or you could say, of course, El Sayed, he's going to walk away with it. But, I think people just want to be arrogant and hope that they're right. And then when they're wrong, they just don't want to act like they said it. After Labor Day, yes. But then at this point, it's going to be after Halloween where we really get to see what's going on. Polls were definitely wrong in Minnesota. They claimed it would be close. Yeah, I saw Craig in the lead in what, one or two in the last couple of weeks, but I remember Flanagan was ahead by a ton in other ones. What's your favorite neologism that I invented? What's your list? I don't know. I don't have your list of neologisms here. You'll have to give them to me, and I'll see which one I think is the best. Super close one here, though. 1 point lead for Crowley, and we've got 80% in Milwaukee County. And surprisingly, he's only ahead by 1 point there. And well, surprisingly, Hogg's only ahead by 4 points in Dane County. This is not what I was expecting, especially for Crowley, who dropped out and then came back in. I mean, that's rare. I mean, if Crowley wins after dropping out, that's amusing, I'd say. You're endorsing Flanagan for the primary or for the general? Probably for the general because she's, again, 15%. I don't know why they're counting so slow here. And look at this. You get one of these random counties where you get some dude nobody's heard of, and he's up by five. Look at this name. Loner Loner Blue. That's I Anybody know anything about this person? Okay, Crowley now 1.2%. He's up by about 5,300 votes. The establishment failed to factor that the Midwest is dominated by New Deal fiscal politics and not identity politics. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's fair enough. I'd say that would be nice if that was everywhere, where the fiscal outweighs the identity by far. I mean, I was not expecting, yeah, Kenosha County. I mean, again, this is a pretty big gap. Um, is Loner Blue related to Wednesday Adams or Gwen from TDI? Gwen, I'm not sure of. I could probably look that up in a second. Um, I don't know. I'd like to see. I'm going to look this person up. Loner Blue. Okay, it's a guy who is 70 years old. So that's who Loner Blue is. Yeah, Crowley is leading, but I mean, look at this. We're down to when you have to add another digit on here, the hundredths of a point, you know you're in a tight race. And okay, now Hong has opened up a 6 point lead in Dane County. That could be something because now Crowley is only ahead by about 3,000 votes. So I'm guessing the market's probably still pretty spooked. They don't know what to do. Look at this. Crazy. Meanwhile, Minnesota goes up to 16%. So this is a nail biter. Get on the edge of your seat if you haven't already. I mean, this is a real strong ideological battle here. This is the theme of this year. I mean, last month or two, it's been all DSA candidates versus establishment. That's been big in the news. Now we've gotten a taste of that on the other side 2 and 4 years ago with the outsider Trump style candidates. We heard about that a ton. And some of those Trump style candidates went down to the general. Democrats were propping them up in the primary because they would be weaker in the general and it paid off in some of the races. Yeah, one of the other ones that comes to mind is Pennsylvania. Doug Mastriano. Lot of enthusiasm in Republican Trump base primary, but in the general, that guy did nothing. So this is really, really it's on the knife's edge as Hong and Crowley lose a fraction of a point. And again, I'm not sure what happened to Mike Lindell. I thought he was actually the favorite up until today. So I must have missed some final news here because Trump, I endorsed him, I believe. 64%. I mean, it's possible this eventually goes to a recount because, if it's only going to be by a quarter of a point in the end, I'm sure we're going to see some recounts. One interesting thing is Abdul's number is better matched to the demographics of Michigan's than Stevens. Is that the demographic breakdown of the support of Syed? Is that what we're talking about? That could be the case. That was really crazy, though. Looked like Stevens had no chance, and then she almost won it. Lindell is the Ken Paxton. Yeah, Lindell. He kinda. I disagree and say though that Paxton has actually won some statewide races, and he's actually a politician. Lindell, not really. He's tried to break into the political scene, but he's had no success. He's doing it in the wrong state, and his background is not really a great fit. And he would go up against Amy Klobuchar, who is, I mean, I don't think Klobuchar is really exciting almost anybody, really exciting them. But, she's probably unbeatable. And I would guess she's going to try to go for a couple of terms and then retire because at that point she'd be getting a little bit old. Could there be a you're no Jack Kennedy moment between Flanagan and Tafoya? But with Wellstone being the man being invoked in a debate. Well, Paul Wellstone, the Senator who died in the plane crash, 2002, I think, and then Mondale comes in. I think that's what we're talking about, if I remember some political history. But could there be a moment there? I don't know how much Paul Wellstone, his name matters right now in that state. I don't. I don't know how much Mondale matters. I just I can't in any state. I don't know how significant a politician is decades later. I really don't, especially if they're dead. I mean, how much does Jesse Ventura matter right now in Minnesota? I mean, he's been out of politics for a couple of decades. He won his race more than 25 years ago. I don't know how much he matters. And has Jesse Ventura commented on any of the candidates, or I guess has he endorsed anybody? I mean, he usually does his own thing where he's kind of out there in some ways. I know he's threatened to like pretty much run every time for every office, but I guess he just hasn't done it. You thought Hong had it in the badge for Wisconsin, 63%. She's slightly behind. That's right. It's um, it's fun. This is what it's all about, right? You follow politics. You look at the polling. You could analyze it to death, but who cares? Because look at this. It's all about what happens, and a lot of times you'll get it right. Sometimes you're going to get it wrong. I still don't know why. Yeah, Vote Hub here, Decision Desk, does not have this Juneau County in when the New York Times has had it in for a while. I don't get it. And now look at this again. It's basically dead even. Crowley and Hong, 51-45. This is completely up in the air. 100% anybody's game. Look at this. It's getting even tighter right now. Now we're down to a half a point margin. Yeah, this is where the lawyers are going to be watching really closely. And there's going to be, could be lawsuits ready to go. And here you even have Sarah Rodriguez somehow leading in a county. This is one of those things, just like up here, where the two frontrunners aren't even in the top three somehow. But I'm assuming that's going to change. Yeah. Yeah, this isn't even right. Crowley is the one with 115 votes according to Decision Desk. So yeah, this is some fireworks. This is what we want to see, right? We want to see a real close one, kind of like Michigan Senate. I'm excited. We still got plenty of random counties with no votes in, and the driftless area is just starting to come in, but barely. So it is under a half a point now. This is great stuff. After Mandela Barnes dropped out, the establishment vote must have rallied around one guy in a short amount of time. Yeah. And so they got to pull the guy in off the bench, Crowley, who already dropped out. That's crazy. Paul Wellstone's apparently an icon, still an icon. I would think people who are younger, they don't know who he is, they don't care. But if he's an icon, he is. How does he compare to Jesse Ventura? Is anybody on the ground, Minnesota, they can have take the temperature of political figures in the state? How about Norm Coleman? Where's he at these days? Anybody care about Mark Dayton anymore? I mean, are these people relevant? We only know the Bush family, though. The Bush family is just gone. The Canes family have a better chance than the Bush family. What are we talking about? Is this for? I'm not sure what we're even talking about right now. Bernie Sanders. Apologies. Getting caught up in the excitement of this governor's race here in Wisconsin. And it looks like Minnesota is just going to give us like 1% every 3 or 4 minutes. Let's see. Has the market shifted at all here? Is it Flanagan? Flanagan 98, which is still lower than what Francesca Hong was at a little while ago. Still 50-50. Look at that. Look at that. 50-50 in the markets on the left. If Hong ends up winning, there's going to be people who bet on this market who pulled out for Hong when it looked like she wasn't going to win. And then they probably wish they stayed in. Okay, here every vote counts. We've got a 2,000 vote, 2,100 vote lead here for Crowley. He has got to be sweating it out. Hong has got to be sweating it out. Did you hear of a Trump backed candidate in Michigan with the name Amir Hussein who lost to a guy who suspended his campaign? I did not hear about that actually. What race was that for? Yeah, tell me what race that's for. I could probably look it up in 2 seconds, but I didn't hear about that. You think Flanagan's already won at this point? It seems like it, but they're very slow counting. Hong doesn't have a lot of money. I don't know how she wins a general election without money. Yeah, Tom Tiffany is probably in a better position for sure, both with the money and with the the positioning. Now, the problem for Tiffany though is this is not a favorable environment. And it looked like 4 years ago, Tim Michaels could take down Tony Evers. That didn't happen. Okay, you're saying the McCain family probably got better odds of winning still now, but after Maine with Jordan Bush and George P. Bush in Texas, the Bush family is unelectable now than it was back then. Oh yeah, I know the Bush name. Yeah, it looked like George P. Bush was going to be the new Bush generation guy, he was railroad commissioner, land commissioner, one of those, right? And then he was going to make a move for whatever he even went for. I can't even remember at this point. He went for another significant office. Maybe it was lieutenant governor. Maybe it was governor. I don't think it was governor. But and then he flopped. Yeah, that's kind of it. And the McCains, I don't know what they could pull off. I don't know. Maybe get Megan McCain running for something someday. That was a congressional district in Michigan, one that's completely in Wayne County. Okay, so it's going to be super blue in November anyway. But he still lost to a guy who suspended his campaign. That's hilarious. But it probably very low vote totals for the Republicans there. Why, so Trump endorsed a guy in Wayne County, like a super blue district? Okay. Or it only leans blue in Wayne County? That must be on the outskirts. And yeah, Angie Craig should never have run for Senate, running against somewhat popular and well known Lieutenant Governor. Big mistake. Well, I mean, it's close. I mean, this isn't like a total blowout here. It's single digits, and it's probably healthy for ultimately for a party to battle itself out ideologically. Like I think it's healthy when both parties are on the ballot in November, even in deep red or blue states. It's nice to see both parties put up a real candidate. And if both parties want to have an intra party ideological battle, I think that's fine too. But the practical side, yeah, I mean, Peggy Flanagan did seem to be popular, but hey, Angie Craig seemed to be popular. She brags about winning that congressional district, the second, I believe. And she did win those. They're not the bluest district. So that's going to be a good establishment type of resume she can run on. Lieutenant governor to Senate is the trend of today. I'd have to think. What? Give me the list. Let me think. Illinois, right? That's one. Juliana Stratton, that's one comes to mind. What else? I don't know. I'll have to come back to that. You think you mixed up a congressional district? It's a blue district. You don't think it's in Wayne County? Okay, fair enough. People said it was because Republican voters didn't want to vote for somebody with the name Amir Hassan. Okay. All right. I don't know how much they really care, but you know, relation with Cindy McCain and Jimmy McCain are still active in politics. They haven't yet ran a race. They could. Yeah, Cindy McCain. Yeah, is that not the wife of John McCain? I thought. Let's go back here. Look at this now. Oh, look at this. It doesn't get really any juicier than this. 1/10 of a percent. Now, are they going to actually add another digit? Are they going to add the thousandth of a point if it gets any closer? Or they just haven't ever thought about it? That's what I want to see because we're down to under 1,000 votes. This is fantastic. We're finally getting a little bit more here. Look at this. Hong is a lead by 10 in Eau Claire County, and she's about by 10 in La Crosse County. These counties have some population to them, not as much as the major cities, but they have more than these rural counties. So this is awesome. Now Hong is in the lead again. This race is not for the faint of heart for the markets. Crowley, Hong was at 97. Crowley shoots up to 84. Then he's going back down. Crazy. I want to see them add a third digit. That's what I'm rooting for. I want this thing to go another digit. You hate it when you have no choice in the primary only. Patty Garcia is on the ballot. Chewy robbed us of a competitive primary. Oh, in the Illinois race, Chewy Garcia, where he dropped out after the deadline or something like that. Fetterman, yeah, that's true. Stratton, and now, oh, so only three, and I got one of them, and I didn't even think about Fetterman because I thought we were talking about this cycle only. Okay, yeah, lieutenant governor, probably an insignificant position in general, but it happens. I think New Jersey, right? Wasn't that the lieutenant governor who died in office about a year or two ago? Something like that. That comes to mind. Another notable lieutenant governor. Also, Florida, that lieutenant governor dropped out. Jennifer Carroll, is that the name? She resigned. Then the other lieutenant governor came in. Jay, somebody, I can't even think of the name at the second. So, yeah, lieutenant governor, usually an insignificant position. Sonic, probably. Yeah. This is election. Betting markets go bankrupt. Yeah. Yeah. If you, I guess one way to get in on the markets without actually getting in on the markets too much, just you bet $1, right? Just have fun with that. Don't expect to win anything really substantial, but don't expect to really lose anything. But I would I would keep it under, let's say, $10 if you really want to go big. I wouldn't really want to go above that if you're even going to get in. Dem incumbent going down in CT1. Yeah, we did talk about that. I don't think anything's changed, but yeah. John Larson has been defeated by almost 20%. So, 47%. That's all they've counted. That's disappointing. NBC projected the progressive being the incumbent in Connecticut's first. Gotcha. What happened was Chewy Garcia dropped out the last 3 or 4 days before the deadline while secretly getting petitions filed. Okay, yeah. So it's kind of that thing, yeah, dropping out, then you get your preferred replacement. That is underhanded. It's kind of like Steve Daines in Minnesota, where he bailed at the last second, and Kurt Alme comes in. So yeah, that's politics. Yeah, that's really Both sides are capable of that. That's just working the system. Sometimes there's not much you could do about it either. The rules are the rules, and you put your thumb on the scale. Okay, so Hong, at this point, relatively speaking, that is a dip. She lost 2/100ths of a point. Oh, here we go. She's going to lose a little bit more. Now Crowley with a 2/10ths of a point lead. Now that's getting up there. 70% of the vote is in. 22% in Minnesota. I mean, yeah, they're going to take hours at this rate. At least Wisconsin is keeping it moving. They're no Florida, but they're also no California or Arizona or Nevada. Yeah, Craig, that's a good thing to point out. Oh, wait, let me see this one here. Patty Garcia also challenged Byron Sigcho Lopez's petition, independent candidate. Conveniently, he only missed by 1,000 petitions, despite having thousands over the minimum. Yeah, these petition signature verifications. I mean, hopefully everything is on the up and up. But yeah, sometimes people, yeah, the establishment will really try to keep somebody off the ballot. It goes on and on. Plenty of states, it happens. If Craig loses, she's got Klobuchar's seat. Yeah, that would be Klobuchar appointing Craig to that seat, and I would agree that's probably what would happen. I mean, so yeah, this is an open seat. Tina Smith retiring in Minnesota, so a lot of stuff changing in Minnesota. But I would agree, Craig Klobuchar appointing her seems like a pretty safe bet. But is it safe enough that you would actually bet on it? Probably not. Flanagan and Crowley are actually holding surprisingly steady leads about now. Well, yeah, his Hong, I don't think she has actually led at all, but she got within a breeze of it, though. I would assume Hong is going to lead here in Bayfield when the vote comes in. Usually these three counties are fairly left leaning, and this kind of backs it up so far right now. Let's see. And it's close again. Hong 62%. So the markets are, I guess, still betting that Hong is has enough vote out there to squeak it out. It seems like this is probably going to be a 1 point or less type of race, no matter what. But it is surprising to see a Hong leading by double digits in some of these medium populated counties. These are counties that have colleges in them that I would assume would be more friendly to Hong. But of course, nothing here more friendly than in Dane County, but she's only up by 7. But then again, look at Crowley. He is only up by 1 in his own county. This is probably the most surprising thing. I would think, based on everything else, I would expect Crowley to be up by 5 to 10 here. And I would not expect Hong to be leading by 4 in Kenosha, while Crowley leads by 9 just in a neighboring county. It's really, I don't think anybody could have predicted this, really. Um, let's see. Any thoughts on the Tennessee primary races from last Thursday? I glanced at it, not a ton, but let's see. Blackburn, as expected, she is the winner. And what else do I need to be taking a look at in Tennessee? Fill me in if there's a race that I missed. I can try to pull it up myself. So it's going to be Blackburn and Jerry Green in November. Bill Haggerty and Marquita Bradshaw there in Tennessee. Pretty cool that Pearson won the primary in Tennessee. How unfortunate Republicans gerrymandered Memphis out of it. Yeah, Justin Pearson was. I did want to see him against Steve Cohen. I wanted to see that race. Um, that would have been a good one. But yeah, now Pearson is going to lose to whoever the Republican is, or very likely to lose, I'd say. Christy Burke narrows the margins a bit in the first congressional district of Tennessee. Okay, I'd have to pull that one up. Uh, Finally got rid of Ogles for his nonsense about a third Trump term. Um, Let me see here. Oh yeah, yeah. I did. I forgot about this. I only heard about this briefly, but I just didn't get to covering all this. But yeah, another incumbent going down there. So Charlie Hatcher is the nominee. That's certainly an upset. It reminds me of the Kentucky race with Thomas Massey a little bit, which as far as the incumbents going down. Um, Republicans lost a lot of commission and school board seats across the state. Yeah, fair enough. Andy Ogles lost the seat in the primary. Most of the district was gone with the new map. Okay. Oh, so the map, yeah. So the map, a big factor there. I almost forgot about redistricting. I mean, I covered it throughout the entire year, but hasn't been much news on it the last 1 to 2 months. Yeah, Ed Case in Hawaii. I did hear about that. I think that yeah, Ed Case. It looked like he was supposed to lose, but he won by a landslide. And yeah, it's pretty much more establishment. I would agree with that. But still, people thought, hey, maybe the state is going to go more progressive. But hey, I guess Ed Case, he pulled it out. Yeah, Blackburn only 43. That is kind of low for a sitting senator. First congressional district in Tennessee is a deep red seat. Just want to see if there's some kind of shift. Yeah, it's important to see if there's shifts too. I agree with that. Um, okay, 75% in here, and I don't know who Billy Nord is, but hey, you got to tip your hat. He's leading here. If this is right in Pine County, Is this actually right? Yeah, according to Decision Desk, they back it up. Let's see. Now, Crowley at 60. These markets cannot decide who they want to go with. Okay, it's a half a point race here. 2,700 votes, and the lower tier candidate is just gained. Now, Hong is actually under 40%. In Washington County, Tennessee, Johnson City, Republicans lost three commission seats and tied one. The incumbent Republican mayor got below 51. Trump carried Washington County with almost 70%. Uh, I mean, I'll take your word for it. I would say that, I mean, yeah, probably in a local Tennessee race like that, the Democrats winning are not, they're not coastal Democrats. They're going to be conservative type of Democrats, I would guess. And the other thing is, hey, that's just what happens, you know? Like, I'll just go back to Obama coming in 2008. He had a triumphant victory. 2 years later, the Dems absolutely got demolished in so many places across the board. And that's just what happens. I mean, there's backlash. Different sides get motivated by different things. You just got to hope you can ride power for longer than 2 or 4 years, which is very challenging to do these days. So things keep swinging back and forth. That's what happens. I don't know how much to read into it, but I mean, Republicans shouldn't think that just because they're in Tennessee, they're going to just always win. Just like Democrats shouldn't think, hey, every seat in New England, they don't have to compete with or compete in, I should say. Pine County, that's the one I just looked at, right? Where that other guy is in the lead. East Tennessee has been consistent Republican hold for a century. And yet, Republicans are not exactly motivated right now to turn out, but I think they probably will get a little more motivated in the next couple of months. But who knows? Dems could have a nice one. Uh, you are Appalachian or Appalachian, however you want to say it. You know, a lot of Democrat Appalachians getting very fired up right now, but I don't see any overall changes or how deep red it is. I mean, if it goes 2 or 3 points to the left, I mean, that's fairly insignificant. That's just noise. But if it goes 7, 8 points, it's still going to be red stuff for sure, but it could be enough to take note of, I'll say. Governor, it's different person winning. Yeah, that's what I was pointing out a couple minutes ago. Oh, and now it's oh no, Kendall Qualls isn't there for the Senate. Oh no, for governor for the Republicans, but for the Democrats, it's Billy Nord. So interesting stuff. Michelle Tafoya is the nominee for the Republicans. Klobuchar 90%. But what is going on here? Is this real? The Pine County has to have something going on because look who's in the lead there. It's not Amy Klobuchar at all. It's old Viking savior ahead of Bill Gates and Po Vang. Uh, okay, Crowley slight gain. Knox County, Tennessee. The Dem candidate for county mayor went to Venezuela to march for Maduro during COVID, and he has a history of communist sympathy. He got over 47%. Hey, I don't know what to say then, Sometimes stuff just happens, and you can't really predict it. Interesting candidates being fielded around East Tennessee. Some poor quality R candidates coupled with low turnout R's And high D turnout makes them interesting races. Yeah, that's what's happening. This is a this map is really. Oh, Hong just gained a little bit. I just missed this. Now she's only down by 2/10 again. So something is going on here. Something. We got to see what's going to happen in this. This is way too exciting. Okay. Yeah, the other states, not a whole lot to say. I covered here South Carolina, Graham, and Norman going to a runoff on the 25th. Vermont has a close one here. Amanda Janeau is in the lead here, who's going to go on to face Phil Scott. Connecticut, Ned Lamont holds on 2-1 margin, but in the first district, John Larson has been defeated by a more progressive challenger. In Alabama, this is the partially redrawn map here, and they're doing some U.S. House races. But the main thing here is this Wisconsin race. And Minnesota here is also a big thing, but it's not that close with Flanagan ahead by high single digits. But we got to see what is going on here with the rest of this vote. Still got 23% sitting there. Beautiful thing of a midterm. Many voters for the party in power won't turn out as much, leading to interesting outcomes. Yeah, I think people turn out more so when they're angry. And Republicans, they're not that angry at the part. At their If the Democrats were in power, getting a lot of victories, Republicans would be angry. They'd be fired up. They'd want to come out there, and then Democrats would be kind of complacent. They wouldn't see the need to come out there because they're not as under threat from their perspective. But that's what we've got going on this time. We've got Republicans probably going to lose some seats in across the board, but they could have a few gains. That's what's possible. Speaking of New England, you're looking at Rhode Island the other day, and the 22 Congressman Seth Magaziner was actually polled losing badly in District 2 against Alan Fung, and they generally won 5-6. I don't remember the polling in that, but yeah, Alan Fung, he's tried to run so many races there, he just can't get anything going. Of course, it's not a great state for Republicans, but yeah, Seth Magaziner, that was the open seat, right? What was the guy's name before that? I can't think of it off the top of my head. But yeah, maybe we've seen the last of Fung. Who knows? Yeah, sometimes polling it's not good. Good bit of Dane came in 92%. Yeah, still 7% lead. Am I predicting Hong is a Democratic nominee in Wisconsin? Well, I mean, it's hard to make a prediction in the middle of it right now when there's 77% of the vote in, or a fair prediction. I thought, I mean, prior to this, I mean, I would have to go by the polling, the fact that Crowley dropped out, and I would have said, yeah, Hong is probably at least going to win, even if it's by one vote. But I mean, it's hard to go against all that evidence. But it was a concern that the establishment candidate could surge late, like Haley Stevens in Michigan, maybe Angie Craig in Minnesota. But in right now, I don't know really. I still hard to predict given the randomness of this map. I mean, this is not your usual looking map, but there's still vote. This is not a map people could predict. But I don't know. It's so close. It could go either way. James Langevin. Yeah, that sounds right. I could picture the guy. Yeah, Langevin was that. That sounds close, if that's not exactly it. As of now, Talrico is leading Paxton by 4 in the markets. Okay. What about predicted? Predicted seems like it's gotten a little bit more Republican friendly. That maybe a couple of points. So I don't know. I mean, Talrico could win. I've said, my best case scenario, Talrico. You can't say that there's no chance he could win. I want people to not say there's no chance in a close race for either side. But I think it's just not heated up enough yet. I think a lot of people, most people, they don't really spend a lot of time on politics, even after Labor Day. It's not like all of a sudden everybody starts following politics. It's mid September. But, and there's going to be that convention, supposedly Trump and the Republicans are going to have. And anything could happen. But I mean, it's tough to think Paxton, he has won statewide. Now, of course, he got impeached and then it didn't go anywhere. He's got all these stories. Talrico has some struggles too with some of his cultural relatability. He's trying to put it behind him. Who knows? Ted Cruz, he was unlikable, but he beat O'Rourke and then he beat Allred by a ton, relatively. And Cornyn, he's won his races up until this year. There's, we'll see what happens. That's all I can say. I would rather be Paxton, though, not by a lot, but I'd rather be him if I had to pick. Nate Silver made his prediction for the Senate. I saw that, but that's not his final prediction. That's just as of now, right? And Silver, everybody's got their prediction. They hope that they're right. Look at Atlas Intel. They did really good for one or two elections, and then they blew it in 25. New Jersey, I think Virginia too. They fell off. Most people tend to focus on what happened more recently. I think the big thing with Texas Senate Cruz was well known. Name recognition was high, even if he was unpopular. Paxton is not near as well recognized and is very unfavorable. He is very unfavorable, but I wouldn't think his name ID is that low. I mean, he's won statewide multiple times. He's been in the news a ton, especially with his baggage and in the primary. I would think his name ID is pretty high, but I would agree with you that he is not popular, and Talrico appears to be, mild mannered and approachable. Paxton, not really, but it's going to be close. But I think in 18, when Cruz won by what, 2, 3 points over O'Rourke, people thought, okay, next time Cruz, he's going to go down. And he tripled his margin or something like that. So who knows what's going to happen? The best thing Republicans could want, if they want to have more success in the Senate, is give up the White House. If Harris were in the White House, this wouldn't even really be an issue. It would be Republicans really cleaning up in all these competitive places: Iowa, Texas, Ohio, North Carolina, maybe Georgia, maybe in New Hampshire, Michigan. They might make a play in Minnesota. You haven't seen Atlas pull anything in 26. Yeah, I haven't seen what they've been doing either. I guess they haven't been doing anything, but they did kind of miss in 25. And in 25, people were thinking, hey, this is the great pollster. Look at 24, maybe 22. And, it's really, really, really tough to be really close 3 times in a row. Once, you pretty much lucked into it. Twice happens rarely. You can get lucky twice in a row, once in a while. But 3 times, if you're actually getting it 3 times, maybe there's something to it, This point, it seems like Wisconsin is a reverse Michigan. Okay. Another weakness Talrico has is he's leaked anti-Christian audio. Is that new or is that the stuff I was hearing about 3 months ago? Because yeah, I think I heard about all that. Maybe there's more coming out. Maybe Republicans are sitting on some good stuff and they're going to unload it in a month or two. I think Hong loses at this point. They'll be very close. The last 8% of Dane will be good for her, but the rest will be favorable to Crowley. Well, except for up here in Bayfield County, there'll be a little bit there for Hong, I would think, based on the adjacent counties. Jump for Hong. Oh, wow. Yeah, look at that. 0.05%. Your previous statement will age well. Yeah. Is Wisconsin open primary? If so, do you think there are Republicans voting against Hong in the Dem primary? That is actually a good question. Thought I haven't heard that Republicans are crossing over to vote for Hong. So I'm gonna see if I could. Sounds like it is open, but I don't know why I have not heard about Republicans crossing over and voting for Hong. That's a good question. We got this far in and nobody's talked about that. It's tough to remember which states have open and semi-open primaries and deadlines for party registration changes. But that's a good point, and this thing is extremely narrow. We're looking at 400 votes, less than that. I wonder if people just found out Hong is white men be better or step aside. Another identity politics takes cross, causing Crowley to lead. Well, well, I would think if that's the case, Crowley then would have wanted people to hear that. But I would guess Crowley, I don't know, he's probably in a tough spot because he kind of probably agrees with some of that, but he doesn't want to. So he doesn't want to go against it, but he also doesn't want to lose. Still got 8% in here to go in Dane County. Okay, let's go back to the markets. Oh yeah, let's see what's going on here in the third. We've got Rebecca Cook is going to be the nominee. And I think that is a rematch. I could be mistaken though, against Derek Van Orden. Or I think I know she ran last time. Maybe she wasn't the nominee. I'd have to double check. Um, okay, let's see here. Let's see what the market has now. Hong back in the lead. Look at this. How many lead changes can you get in a couple of hours? So they think that Hong is actually going to pull it out, probably because of the, oh, let's see, 44.37. That is what New York Times has, but they've got less percentage in overall. Oh, this is going to be crazy. And Tom Tiffany, meanwhile, he's sitting back with his feet up, and he is hoping that it's Hong. Not that he can't beat Crowley, not that there's no chance. Crowley is not some superstar, but he's certainly more palatable than Hong. But he is really hoping that Hong. He's never loved Dane County so much. He wants there to be keep the polls open, keep the votes counting, right? I think Crowley should have did better here in Milwaukee County. That's a surprise. Um, do you see a candidate you think will get 100% of the 100% run in 20? Yeah, we haven't talked about 28 in this stream at all, which is kind of a nice change of pace. Two in the running for president. Well, It's hard to go 100, right? You could go 95 plus, 98, 99, 99.9. I mean, it seems like Newsom is likely to do it, right? I know you can make a case why he wouldn't, but it's not that strong of a case compared to some of these other candidates. All of these candidates, they look like they're making a little bit of a move. They try to fire people up with some kind of a statement. You've got it from Bashir, you've got it from Shapiro, you got Harris, AOC, Pritzker. So I could see that. I think Pritzker could run. Again, it's not 100%. It's not even 95, but he's got all the money. Newsom is kind of the. He just seems like an ideal candidate Democrats would put up, but I can't say 100%. Newsom, when I made a list of who's likely to go deep into a primary a few months ago, a tier ranking, I think Newsom was at the top, but I don't think that Harris, is she really going to run again? She could, but it's hard to imagine her doing more than a little. I just think that when you put her up against other candidates, people prefer the other candidates. Shapiro, you can go down the list, right? Oh, he's not going to get anywhere because he's Jewish or he's too moderate, but he's from an important state. AOC, I don't know how much she would do. I think people probably wouldn't ultimately take her super seriously. Maybe Bernie Sanders, is he way, way, way too old to run? Maybe, but Bernie Sanders, I mean, is older than almost anybody. I mean, he's right around Biden's age, but Biden looks like he's 100. Bernie Sanders looks like he's 60. So age really doesn't really matter too much. But there's some, you've got Rahm Emanuel. Maybe he's going to get in, right? His name ID is going to be lower. There's, there are some lower tier candidates. Bashir, I don't think Bashir would do much. I mean, he's just not cut out for it. The party is going to be looking for somebody at least kind of to the left. And Bashir, he's kind of a nice guy, but what's that going to do, right? I gotta think who's else is even potentially in the running at this point. They're let's see. Let me get caught up here. Yeah, Google says it's an open primary state. Yeah, I did see that, but I don't know why nobody was. I didn't hear much about Republicans voting for Hong. If Tiffany has a basically an uncontested primary, I would think they would be wanting to come out and vote for Hong. But maybe you had to change your registration too far in advance. That's another thing to consider. Exactly the process for voting, unless Republicans can literally just, yeah, if they can just on election day walk over and vote in the Democratic primary. That would truly be an open primary, right? But I don't know. I don't know why I didn't hear about that much. Maybe somebody else knows more about that. Tiffany isn't really a great candidate, but Hong is such a weak candidate that the current Dem environment may push her over the edge to win. I agree with that statement. That is a good statement. I've been on the ground in Minnesota, still writing up every state preview. I've done 43. I'm in 7 left. Don't have long to be on here. Oh, hey, I forgot about that. I do remember you were doing that. You were making your Substack covering the races. I remember you did West Virginia. So I do remember that. Good to see you still out there putting in effort for what you're passionate about. Another weakness for Talrico is this Twitter post screenshot from November of 13 of him texting a then student of his at midnight on Facebook, which people saw as not a good look. What? I didn't hear about. Talrico in 13? What, wasn't he still in school then? I need more on that actually. Current election party, you hope will be on for more than 45 minutes. So you come back to the stream. I might be. I don't know. It really depends if this wraps up. I could be. For Wisconsin, he lead toward Joel Brennan in endorsements. Okay, well, Brennan is here in 4th place, but he's kind of insignificant considering everything that's going on. For every Talrico scandal is a Paxton scandal. In this scandal, off as long as the Democratic environment is insanely high. Paxton will probably prevail in the battle of the scandals. I mean, look at Trump, right? Trump was scandal loaded, right? Plagued. And, hey, Harris, she just didn't get it done. Look at Jay Jones in Virginia Attorney General, right? Look at that scandal with the violent text. And he won. Wasn't even super close. Harris is going to be the next Stevenson. Adlai Stevenson, I assume we're talking about. Remember the op of Stevenson saying you can vote for me now and you could vote for Stevenson in a different year, something like that. Okay. I mean, we're talking way back in against Eisenhower, right? I see Harris fading again like she did in 20 Miles or on Ossoff. Yeah, Ossoff, there's another name. Yeah, that's a reasonable pick. I would think Ossoff might be a little bit better as a VP at first. But but he probably could be I think he actually is probably one of the better candidates. Doesn't mean, a ton at this point, but I think he's seems to be a little bit better than some of these other candidates. That it seems like they try too hard, some of them. Asaf Bashir take it. Okay. Bashir is VP. Yeah, Bashir would be non threatening there. Try to get some of the southern vote. Unless, even though Asaf is from Georgia. Yeah, that's kind of going back to like Clinton and Gore from Arkansas and Tennessee. Asaf Bashir is a Democratic dream team, but progressives wouldn't care for it. Yeah. Well, it depends what Asaf does and how crazy far the progressives would go. But Bashir, they wouldn't like Bashir, that's for sure. But if he's VP, maybe they overlook it. But that's you wouldn't pick your running mate in the primary, of course. Bashir isn't that well loved beyond outside Kentucky. He hasn't pulled. Yeah, Bashir, I know. But Bashir is a Kentucky guy. His dad was governor. He barely won when he, what, attorney general? Uh, yeah. You're Florida next week. Okay. For Madison Cawthorn, then going to New England, New Hampshire for 3 weeks. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening next week. If this, I don't know what I can cover, but you think Ossoff is first, second best for the 28 general around Shapiro. Yeah, Ossoff, I think his name ID is probably low, though. I think nationally, people, I don't think people in Oregon are like, oh, yeah, John Ossoff. I think, like, who is this guy? But it's just like, I don't think people in Georgia know who Jeff Merkley is. Del Rico was already a teacher November 30th. Really? Oh, wow. He must have just started. I mean, because he is young, and then going back to 13. Rico, what? He was, I think he is, okay. Yeah, he's like, what, 33, 30, or 35 right now, right? 35, 36. Okay, yeah. I guess a little bit of time has gone by, I think, if I'm correct. So he was pretty young, though. YouTuber called Aiden, who said Democrats may try Southern belt strategy after 2030. Okay. I mean, yeah, the Democrats want to get back in power, specifically to campaign in Georgia, Texas, Arizona, instead of the Midwest states. They might be conceding ground to Republicans then if the Rust Belt states are going to be increasingly redder and the Democrats are going to abandon them. Yeah, maybe they're thinking long term that they'll try it for those Sun Belt states. Did Bashir's dad run for president too, and it didn't pan out? Steve, I don't know if Steve Bashir ran for president. If he did, it was probably one of those like real minor efforts, like Trump in 2000, I think, right? Something like that. Yeah, I don't recall it. Maybe it didn't happen. So Talrico was born in May '89, graduated high school in 2007. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, Talrico is a good example of somebody who got caught. A lot of people got their political career launched because of a wave. And in 18, Talrico won that state house seat, right? The I believe that it was that North Austin district, something like that, in Williamson County, I think, somewhere in that vicinity. And it was a very close one. And that's how he got on the map. And then look what happens a few cycles later. All of a sudden, he's running for the Senate. What do you think the closest Senate race will be? Woof. You know, all I can really do is list a few of the ones I think would be the closest, but it's got to be Michigan, probably. I mean, this is what I'm answering right now. This is not my final answer. Michigan, it seems like it's going to be pretty close. And Maine and Ohio, I think, are probably three candidates. I mean, you could try to go Iowa. I don't think Georgia is going to be that close. I think Dems got that one kind of locked up. I don't think North Carolina is going to be that close. I don't think New Hampshire is going to be that close. But Maine, Ohio, and Michigan, and then maybe Texas, maybe Iowa. But I would say Michigan is intriguing. It shouldn't be though. This is a blue environment. Dems should win that by 5 points. I mean, they should, but they might not anymore. It might be a real close one. I'm intrigued by the main race to see if Susan Collins actually can pull out another one. And in Ohio, I think Brown and Husted. I mean, Brown should not win that race. He just should not win it, in my opinion. Husted is kind of just a regular establishment guy. He's got a strong resume of Ohio political success. Brown is tainted. He just lost to Bernie Moreno, and he's old, even though he's not a bad fit for the state in terms of a lot of his economic populist type of messaging. It just seems like Husted should win that by several points or more, but who knows? Maybe people want to go back to Brown one more time. However, that's just a rental because 2 more years, that seat is actually up for the full term. This is just a special election. So even if Brown wins, I think it's a rental and he'd be done in 2 years. But that's enough time to do a lot of damage for Trump's last 2 years for confirmations and such. You thought Steve Bashir was like a George Romney, Mitt Romney's dad. George Romney, Michigan governor back in the day. I think LSAD will struggle hard, but Michigan is a near even partisan divide. Democratic environment will be strong. I don't see how LSAD losing as of now. I see it close. That's what I'll say. But yeah, he could lose. I mean, he could lose. Oh yeah, Alaska. That is a state I didn't mention. That's good point. I got to throw that in there. That one could be. I probably should put that above Ohio. Actually, Alaska, it's a red state, kind of. It is, but it's not like just a layup. It's not reliably red. Mark Begich won in 2008. And then Dan Sullivan took him out 4 years later, but he didn't win by a landslide. Now this is a blue environment, and it's ranked choice, it's top four primary, it's all these weird complexities. Maria Peltola, she did lose. She's tainted, but she also won. Probably the best the Dems could do. I would have liked to see her run for governor. I think she probably would have made that a little bit more interesting. And then there's that other Dan Sullivan on the ballot. I forgot what even happened with that. He got thrown off, then he got put back on. I would think that that is going to be a real close one, actually. Yeah, it could, and then plus it takes a while to count the votes. But yeah, Dems want to pick up anything extra because that's a 6 year hold, and plus, even if Dems do get 51 seats, then everybody's going to be looking at John Fetterman, right? They're going to be going, well, Fetterman, what are you going to do now? You're going to hold up the Democratic agenda? Because then he's looking at his own primary in 28. And that's going to be wild. Did you hear the Republicans told people who complained about high prices to earn more money to get a job? I mean, I didn't overwhelmingly hear about that. I mean, if somebody said that off the cuff, yeah, that's going to be a completely out of touch bad statement for sure. Crenshaw, yeah, Crenshaw did lose, but he's got the eye patch, so he's kind of a supervillain look. Ironically and hypocritically, these are the same Republicans that complained of high prices during the Biden administration. Yeah, now that's just politics for you. I think Republicans they can't go. Yeah, everything's high and we suck. They can't do that. It's like the Dems couldn't do it under Biden. Yeah, but the people have to call them out on it. They got to say, hey, come on, people are hurting out there pretty bad. But yeah, everybody switches their opinion on the economy once they're in there. They want to blame the past. They want to say they've done a ton. It's politics. It's gross. Alaska is a moderate Republican state, like a lot of anti-Trump Republicans, more like Lisa Murkowski. Yeah, that's true. I'd like to see what's going to happen with Murkowski after remember she famously lost nomination and then won the write-in campaign against Joe Miller, right? I think so. A couple Senate cycles ago. Who do you think's going to win this primary? Let's see. 92% it's still. Uh, wow, this is about dead even in Milwaukee County. I don't know. It looks like, okay, now we've got some up here. Hong is in the lead. And we've got about a tenth of a point lead for Crowley. This, I don't know. I'd like to say I know. I mean, I could defer to the market just because these are the people who have a huge stake in it. Hong has a small lead. I mean, I guess that works for me. Hong having a small lead. If she wins, it's probably going to be by less than a half a point. But we've got this is very, very good stuff. Let's see Minnesota. Anything? They're still only up to 36%. I mean, at this point, yeah, they should really be calling this for Flanagan. I think it was called somewhere else. But yeah, Flanagan really cleaning up in Ramsey and Hennepin. And in the Iron Range, it's easily Flanagan. Craig probably, yeah, doing better like Exurban and in her own district. Anything else here? Okay. Very unusual map still here in Wisconsin. You thinking Missy Hughes is going to win the Dem primary? She's really doing good out there. Is that we're looking at? Let's see here. Um, okay, yeah, think she's going to pull it out with that amount of vote? Hey, yeah, I hear she surges late. Yeah, Murkowski eyeing for governor. Yeah, I did hear that she was looking at that. Um, she Murkowski, she could probably just hang it up and retire, right? She's been around a while. I mean, is she going to just serve until she's 80? There's all kinds of different talk. I mean, sometimes I think some of these news sites hype things up just for the clicks. Um, that top four ranked choice, yeah, that's a crazy. That system is notable because yeah, it barely passed, and then they tried to repeal it, and it barely failed. And I think when it passed in Maine, it barely passed. If I'm not, maybe I'm mistaken about that, but it seems like a lot of times when it passes, it's fairly narrow. I think in D.C. it passed overwhelmingly or easily, but that's kind of a different dynamic. But it failed also. I think in Nevada, I think something like that. Possibly locally in Oregon somewhere or Washington. Dane is down to 88. Yeah, wow. What's that about? Is that true on Decision Desk? No, Dane has 95 in. Okay, what's I don't understand the lack of consistency. I really don't. But 4403 and oh look at that. Hong has just taken the lead by 4 hundredths of a point. She's up by 250 votes. This is really first time of the night. And David Crowley just sank a little bit, although, there's still some vote to go. Tom Tiffany, meanwhile, he's popping the champagne seeing that. I wish a better non identity politics Dem was in and leading the 26th primary. Yeah, I think that. I mean, I generally on this channel, that's one of the things I talk about. If Dems just really abandoned or even went against the identity politics stuff, that would really bring in Republicans, some of them for sure. Republicans, a lot of them are motivated against the identity politics stuff. And if Democrats just said, hey, we're not doing that, I don't think that at all. I think economics, populist economics, or progressive economics even are the way to go. And they're not at all on the identity stuff. I think that would be a better move for sure. But hey, it is what it is. Her dad was Senator, I think Frank Murkowski. Yeah, Frank Murkowski is her dad. And I think Frank Murkowski was the governor. I think that, no, yeah, that's, I have to double check. Let's, oh no, Senator and governor. Yeah, well, we got both of them covered. So there you go. Uh, Hong's out there comments would be very funny if came back from a Parks and Rec character. Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Now, is that going to affect this market though? Because Crowley is in the lead here on Decision Desk. So the vote totals are the same for New York Times and Decision Desk in Dane County, but for some reason it's 91 here and it's 95 plus. there. I don't know why these counties here just happen to be for Hong, but they're surrounded by Crowley counties. I'm not positive what that's about. 83% in. Murkowski lost the 2006 primary against Palin. Oh, okay. That I didn't recall off the top of my head. That's good to hear. Fun fact. You don't mind progressive economic policy as someone who's voted Republican in the past. If they stop trying to take away guns and stop the identity politics, I'd have more reason to vote them than Rep. Yeah, I think that is, that's what I've said. That my view is the weakness of the Dems is a lot of cultural stuff, identity stuff. The weakness of the Republicans is a lot of the populist economic stuff. If you combine those two, I think you'd get a nice candidate there that would have broad appeal, but it seems like it's just impossible to do. You're not going to get any Democrat coming out and saying, no, no, I'm with them on all this economic stuff, but I'm not at all. I'm 100% against the identity stuff. If you were in Wisconsin, you'd have to vote for either the you'd either vote for the Dem candidate or the third party libertarian, the general. Okay. And let's see, we got anything else here? It's pretty much all the races summed up right here. Oh, Flanagan, big boost there. Yeah, they're still not calling this. Now all of a sudden they're up to 79%. And Hennepin is basically done counting. Um, well, the call is not here on New York Times for Minnesota. You hope Evers or someone considers a runoff for the governor's race because 39 is really low and withdrawn candidates got a lot of votes. I mean, nothing you can really do after the fact. But hey, this is what it is in a lot of states. No runoffs. People could win with, 28% of the vote sometimes. I'm not a fan of that. I do want to see runoffs. It's nice to see people regroup after a crowded primary and have a second election a few weeks later. But this is what it is. So be nice to see. I guess Crowley's got a little bit more probably in some of these rural counties, but there's not a lot of vote here. And we're still sitting on. I mean, he's going to squeeze a little bit more out too in some of these. I guess the driftless area, it's kind of a mixed bag here. Let's do a refresh here and see. Okay, Hong now is starting to run it up a little bit, 75%, 86% in total here. Um, so this is certainly an interesting primary, and it's going to be doing one of these streams again because I have no idea when the next one is going to be. It's good to have some people in here. Let's see. More news about Georgia. Lance Bottom's leading the markets for governor's race. Yeah, I have heard that. I mean, it's not a big thing. It's not overwhelming, but yeah, she's been in the lead. Who knows? I mean, Rick Jackson has all that money. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a close one. That's going to be one of the closest governor's races. Greene County south of Dane seems to be the largest outstanding for Crowley, but Dane is going down to 91%. Oh, Crowley back on top. Okay, New York Times just called it for Flanagan. Let's watch it pop up. There it is. So yeah, that poll that showed Craig in the lead by like 2 points, that was nothing. But yeah, Angie Craig might be in the Senate anyway soon enough, getting that appointment from Klobuchar. All right, let's see. Okay. And now Hong is back down to 59%. So who knows what's really going on here? This has got to be one of the more stressful markets, probably similar to the Michigan one. Okay. 84% in here, except 86% on New York Times or on Decision Desk. I guess we're waiting for the last little bit to drop to see what happens. Because I mean, right now this has got to be a recount. I mean, this is only 500 votes separating, so it could be a little while here before we actually know what happened. But apparently, there's a little bit more outstanding vote for Hong. Okay, so it's kind of just a waiting game. So yeah, we could talk about other races, and I mean, the big thing that happened, of course, during the last month, yeah, Lindsey Graham dying in office was pretty shocking. I mean, after he won his primary not that long ago, and then he dies, that's a shock. And I mean, it's shocking when any senator dies in office. Well, I suppose it wouldn't be as shocking if somebody super super old died in office like Chuck Grassley or Dianne Feinstein. Um, but yeah, that is enough time went by, or enough time before election day. They were able to have another election there, and another runoff is going to happen there. So we shall see what happens with that. In the meantime, we're looking at a 1/10% advantage here for David Crowley in Wisconsin, and now it's opened up slightly more than that. He's looking at about a he's looking to go up about 1,000 votes, and some of these counties, I don't know why they have zero still. What is happening where they just have not counted a single vote? And look at the market again. The market again is 55 for Hong. I'm guessing they're banking on some more vote coming in some of these counties for Hong, near the Driftless area and in Dane County, I guess. Even though it shows over 95 here in Decision Desk, in New York Times only says 91. Okay, Bernie, you're gonna call it. You got to get ready. Yeah, good to see you on here. Hopefully, there'll be a general stream. There's just been so much going on again. I It would be nice to do that. I hope that could happen at least for a little while. If it's not all night, maybe a couple of hours. I don't know. We'll see where I'm at, how things are going with everything going on then. But it's nice to see you in here as usual. So have a nice night. Milwaukee will likely do its normal 3 a.m. ballot dump just to keep us waiting, okay? I mean, I don't know. I guess the 76% in Milwaukee. Um, okay, 2/10 of a percent lead here. Now Crowley is up by more than 1,000. He's up by 1,500 votes. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I thought Milwaukee was higher, but now it's down to 76. I don't know what's going on here. Did I hear Sanders saying he didn't choose to endorse Hong, but he said she's a good person? What I heard is he's not endorsing her, but I didn't hear. I don't recall what he said. So what is that about? I he should probably endorse her, right? There's similar ideology, but of course there's going to be some differences. And if you're going to say somebody's a good person, but you're not going to endorse them, all right. Lisa Damath is the winner to go up against Amy Klobuchar. And that's probably good for the Republicans because she won in the high populated areas. Lindell getting it done a little bit in the rurals. So we're all focused on here, Wisconsin governor. This is the big one. Here in Tennessee, we had our votes total by 10 p.m. after the 8 p.m. poll closing. What other states keep us waiting? I'm never going to know the answer. It just, I don't know. It just must be some kind of sloppiness or, you know, lax types of regulations to get everything counted in time. I don't know. That's all I can come up with. Sometimes there's, things that come up, weather or glitches, and there needs to be extensions for the polling. But I think that's generally few and far between. You're back next week, Alaska, Wyoming, and Florida. I don't know if I will be streaming. I mean, my best advice is to assume there is not going to be a stream. But like today, I pulled it out at the last second. So Florida is the big one there. That's where it's at. Alaska is going to take forever. That's actually going to be a bad time to stream because Florida closes early, Alaska closes way late, and they take forever to count their votes. and then there's the ranked choice. So it's really that's a tough one to stream. You and Florida congressional races and Wyoming Republican state legislature primaries, only intriguing things. Well, I mean, we want to see what's going on for governor. How what's Byron Donalds going to pull? Is James Fishback going to get anything going? I mean, and how about the Dems, right? David Jolly, Vinman, are these guys gonna? What are these guys gonna do? See the video of fraud in Minnesota. Cam Higby showed today. I did not. Well, you'll have to fill me in on that. I can look it up. States out west are more often the slowest states to count. Yeah, especially California, Arizona, Nevada. That's true. Those states are really slow. What's the difference between Crowley and Hong? Besides male, female, black, Asian. Well, I think it's just simply just the ideological disagreements on Hong being the outsider DSA left candidate. Culturally, economically, Crowley is going to be more connected to that establishment, which is going to be a little bit less in that direction, more incremental approach, safer. He's probably going to be milder on taxes and such, and not as inflammatory on certain cultural statements and such. But yeah, they're both from the two major counties, Dane and Milwaukee. Fishback and Fritz ran similar campaigns. Fritz got 23. Interested to see how they compare. All right, I'm not really familiar with that Fritz person, but I hear you. Spent 300,000. Unsure how much money Fishback has spent. I hope we do get a result here soon. Yeah, Jay Collins. That's the lieutenant governor. I had the J, but I forgot the Collins. He's running also. Hope the anti-establishment effect doesn't happen in Florida GOP governor primary election because you don't want Fishback to win. I don't think Fishback. I mean, he seems to be like one of these online candidates who has some following, but to go to a broader win seems like it's probably a stretch, like a pretty big stretch. Uh, Crowley is less opposed to data centers. Okay. I mean, yeah, when you go down a list of things, there's going to be the incremental approach and the change approach. And Hong wants to go do a lot more things a lot quicker, a lot more extreme. Healthcare is a big topic. I'm sure Crowley is not into the single payer thing, but Hong is probably going to say, let's do it already. It's robbery for Tennessee governor. Republican primary. Fishback also identity politics candidate, but for the GOP, Dems come to mind when identity politics is heard. But yeah, I mean, Republicans can do it for sure. I mean, anybody can do it a little bit here and there. But yeah, Dems really, it's highly affiliated with them. Um, so this has really started to slow down here. I wish we could get a little bit more going. Let's go back to decision desk for 2 seconds. Now Crowley is back in the lead, barely. I don't know what's going on here, but um, again, we could be looking at a recount, and maybe yeah, if Milwaukee County the vote dipped, Crowley could have a little bit more there, even though he's barely leading it. So yeah, this is really anybody's game. It'd be nice to get the vote counted in the next 5 or 10 minutes. And this could drag on for hours, though. I mean, this could be one of these things where, yeah, maybe there are some additional ballots. Maybe there's mail ins. I'm not sure how it goes, but um, 85% of the vote in. Some real outliers or oddities in this map. But, if there's any other political topics to cover while we wait, we can try to keep the stream going a little bit more and see if we get the results come in while we're covering other action. Look at the votes left for Wisconsin. Yeah, no, it's interesting to see which counties favor which. Winnebago is only 29 in. Yeah, about a quarter point lead here for Crowley. And okay, a little bit more vote coming in there, and that helped Crowley out. Now he's up by more than 2,300 votes. Markets are holding steady for now. We've got over 700,000 votes counted here. Everything else is pretty much over. There's nothing left to really look at. This is it. I mean, I guess there are some down ballot races. I don't know. I guess, here we go. Lieutenant governor, um, secretary of state. Look at this market. There's another one that was like 90%, and then it flipped. So let's see what happened here. Nope, no market. Treasurer. Okay. What else? Okay. Um, let's get back on here. 86% in now. And you're happy Flanagan won? Okay. Sounds good. It'd be great if it just went to like 95 right now. Just boom. Everything comes in at once. Here's speaking of weird maps, look at this one here for Vermont governor Dems. Look at that. I mean, does this make sense to anybody? I don't know. Phil Scott, the legend, uncontested. He's been in office for a long time. This could be it, though. I mean, is he going to go for a seventh term? That'd be wild. Um, he had to go do rounds around your campus, and he knew at Hong well. If she had the lead for a little while, like a few minutes, but didn't last too long. I'm gonna have to wind this stream down in a few minutes, but we will take a look at the market again one more time. Now Crowley is up to 74, so there you go. So maybe he has the momentum late in the game here. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to wind the stream down. And we'll just see if anything changes. But now it looks like Crowley has a little bit of momentum, but we'll see what goes on here. That's going to be it, though, for this one. I'm glad we got one in. We put in almost 3 hours. It started to slow down here at the end, but we got all results from South Carolina, Minnesota, Alabama, Connecticut, Vermont, and here in Wisconsin. This is the big one. It looks like it's Crowley with a slight edge. Hong was in the lead for a bit, but I am going to have to pull it here. So I appreciate everybody stopping by again. I'm going to assume there's no stream until there is. So thanks to everybody for stopping by. Have a great night, and we'll see you on the next stream. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Good night, everybody.